What's going on, everyone? So the Los Angeles Lakers are focused on the perimeter and upgrading out on the perimeter, which I agree with, right? They really need those pieces that can kind of slot in, help kind of alleviate some of the faults of Austin Reeves, like particularly on the defensive side of things, right? Because it kind of seems like the Lakers are committed to Austin Reeves, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis kind of being your core three, like your big three. Still not really sold on Austin Reeves as your third best player. But if that's the route you're going to take, then fine. You need to get the pieces complementary alongside Reeves to better utilize, better mask the faults of Reeves, right? So like a Dorian Finney-Smith, if you can get a Bruce Brown, something like that, or Alonzo or a Brogdon, right? Get those defensive pieces to slot alongside to where you don't have to switch everything. You get guys that can fight over screens or fight through the traffic, right? Like you need guys like that to really pick it up. I would love to see the Lakers, right? Obviously, you got the big names, the Bruce Browns, the Nikola Vucevic, the Lonzo Balls, right? All these guys that are 18, 20 million, some cases even more, right? 23, 25 million. What the Lakers need is athleticism out on the perimeter, defense out on the perimeter, obviously some shooting, things like that. Instead of going and getting like the Bruce Brown and spending $23 million for him, although he does give you flexibility, same thing with like Alonzo Brogdon, same thing. All three guys are expiring contracts. All three guys are, guys that could make sense for the Lakers, but they all are 20 plus million, right? Or like a Nikola Vucevic or whatever, right? Should the Lakers just get youthful athletes, right? Like look at all the top teams in the league right now, right? From Houston to Memphis to, OKC, Cleveland, like they all have youthful athletes. They all have guys, especially like Houston. Houston's probably the best example of just a bunch of like 6'6" to 6'8" guys that are just hyper athletic, can defend multiple positions. They're like third in the league in defense. They're top 5 in offense. They pace, all of that, right? Should the Lakers pivot and kind of go that direction? And what I mean, like, there's multiple guys that are out there that are rumored to be available that the Lakers could maybe acquire, right? So we also, another example on like the Lakers side of things, look at what Max Christie's been able to do. Hey, look how good Max Christie's been for the Lakers because he's young, he's athletic, he's hungry, he's playing, he's locked in and engaged every possession because he doesn't want to be benched. Like if we could get more of those, that would be great. The downside to that, though, is come playoff time, they don't have the experience necessary. But you do have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I mean, LeBron's got more experience than every player in the league. Anthony Davis, again, won a championship. He has experience being in the playoffs. Then you have guys like Jared Vanderbilt, Austin Reeves, went to conference finals. So I do think you have enough experience to kind of offset. I would, and I've made this argument even with Max Christie, I would prefer kind of a more experienced, more veteran guy. That's why I wouldn't necessarily want to get like a year 1 or year 2 guy. But like, for example, if you could get like an Io, right? 24 years old, has a couple years under his belt, playing a real rotation, real role, where Max Christie, this is his first real rotation and role minutes, right? You get a guy like that, can defend, point of attack, play multiple positions, get like a Josh Green from like Charlotte, right? I mean, those two guys combined aren't even 20 million, but let's just call it 20 million to be safe. So you could get like a Bruce Brown and Nikola Vucevic, or you could get like 2 of those guys, bring them in and kind of operate that way, right? And then you'd still have and be able to make another move. Go get, another young guy, another athletic guard. So can you pull off a Cam Whitmore trade? Because supposedly he wants out of Houston, and Houston's kind of like, they're kind of having the struggle. Could you get somebody where you just have these young athletes that not only help for now, but help for the future? They're not on insane contracts, right? They're very reasonable, and they could be pieces that could just give you that athleticism, give you that defensive versatility and switchability. Obviously, these guys are just kind of names that I'm using, right? There's dozens of guys that are out there that maybe you could get and you could acquire. Obviously, assets are a thing, but how many of these guys are going to demand first, especially in today's market with the new CBA? Most of them probably not, right? So if you could get like 1 or 2 guys for a second, for 2 seconds, right? And then get another guy for like a pick swap, and then another guy for a pick swap, and then like maybe like an Io who actually he's probably better. He's probably the best young guy that's out there that is rumored. Him and Kobe White are kind of like the two that may be able, and maybe it is a Kobe White, right? Like I wouldn't mind, and I've even said giving up a first for one of those guys, get like a Jalen Smith or something in the process too. Just should the Lakers look to get that youthful athleticism, guys that are in that like 24 to 26 range, but real athletes, right? Because like Rui Hachimura, he's in that range, but he's not this like hyper athlete that can defend multiple positions, rebound, do all these things, right? Like I'd prefer to get a bunch of, can you get a bunch of like 6'5" to 6'8" guys that just can chase down those loose balls, get those 50-50 balls, right? Dive after it and just really kind of inject some athleticism, get back up to pace, right? Be that pace team again, right? You always can operate in the half court between Reeves, LeBron, and Anthony Davis, so you can have that balance of both. But you could just have the young guys out there, just go to work, right? Let's just using names, right? That, like, let's say, you throw out a unit out there of Io, say Io, Max Christie, Jared Vanderbilt healthy, with like a Josh Green, and then Jamison, right? If that's our center, right? Or like a Dayron or something. And you're just blitzing everybody, right? Just fast pace, right? Like you can could throw different looks at teams. You become so much more harder to defend because it's like, okay, are they going to go fast? Are they going to go slow? Are they going to operate in the half court? Now you got all these athletes. Teams aren't going to be able to just chuck up 43s a game against the Lakers. And then not just that, even if they do, you have the athletes to chase down those loose balls, to rebound those basketballs, to do all the dirty work, right? I want to target the dirty work young guys, though. Right? A guy like a Josh Green has built that reputation of, like, he will do everything. He'll sacrifice his body. He'll chase down loose balls. He'll, he can knock down the open three. He can hit the three ball, right? Like, guys like that. You don't want to just get, like, a young guy that's just, he wants to be a star and he wants to be all, like, Cam Whitmore is probably a bad example, right? I know I mentioned him earlier. I just think he has that potential, but he's probably not the best example for, like, what the Lakers need. Right, it's just more long-term upside and potential. But like Io, Josh Green, like guys like this, Jalen Smith, like guys like that are willing to do the dirty work, do the hustle plays, willing to sacrifice their body, be those like Max Christie type of guys that can really come in and have an impact on multiple fronts for the Lakers. Right? I don't necessarily think the Lakers will do that. Maybe you get a piece or two along the way. Right? Like, maybe they do a trade for, like, a Nikola Vucevic, and they end up landing, like, a Smith or a Io or, something along those lines, right? Or, maybe they do, like, a Bruce Brown trade and then go just trade straight up for, like, a Josh Green or something. Like, maybe there's something like that. But I kind of just thinking about it, like, what do I want to see? Because we're getting closer and closer to the trade deadline. So the more that, like, we're getting closer, the more I kind of rack my brain on things like, okay, what about this? What about this? What about that? And obviously gonna get a lot of like rumors and speculation and news. Be ready because there's probably gonna be a lot of content. I know I post a lot every day anyway. You're probably gonna get a lot more for those that are fans of that. But like the more that I think about it, the more that I don't hate the idea of just injecting youthful athleticism, right? Like getting more athletic, getting more versatile out there. Obviously you want size and stuff, but to me, it's just like, especially if all those guys you can get are like really cheap, right? And none of them are making, 20, 30, 40 million. Then now you still could have potentially the flexibility. Like LeBron James could free up your full mid-level. You also have just much more tradable guys if that guy that makes sense becomes available, right? Because like, would teams rather have Io and Josh Green if a De'Aaron Fox becomes available? Or would they rather have Rui and Gabe Vincent? Right? Like, it's a big difference, right? So you could also put together just better packages and stuff like that. And, and I don't think any of these guys that are out there would necessarily break the bank, right? Now, that also doesn't mean that the teams are going to necessarily trade those guys unless they are able to kind of break the bank. But there is enough options out there to where you only really need to get 2 or 3, ideally, right? Like, again, you have, 7, 8 teams that are going to be sellers at the trade deadline, and that's just like what we know of, So, and you have all these teams that are looking for kind of like that veteran piece, right? Cam Johnson, all these other. I've talked about it before. Like, while everyone's distracted over here, can you sneak through the back door and grab the real gems, right? The real pieces that you need. Kind of fill out the roster the way that you really need it, right? Because the thing is, too, that all these teams already have those youthful athletic guys. All the teams that are after, a Cam Johnson, things like they already have all the youthful athletic. They don't need those guys. Lakers need those guys. Lakers need the athleticism and the versatility out there. So it's just kind of like I said, just kind of a thought that I've been having. I'm just like, you know what? Like, I don't hate the idea of like I said, just youthful athleticism injected. Obviously, you want guys that can play both sides of the ball. You don't want to just like bring in a young guy just to bring in, like Cam Reddish is young, right? But he doesn't give you both sides of the ball. You want guys that can actually impact both sides of the basketball. You want guys that can actually make a difference on both sides of the basketball, right? I wouldn't even hate looking at some of these like contending teams and being like, wouldn't you rather have Rui, who has experience, than those guys over there that don't? And maybe see if you can convince a team to maybe do that, right? Just kind of a thought. Like, Houston's got like a bunch of guys, right? Like, can you like convince Houston, like, hey, you know what would be great on your team? Rui, right? Like, you consolidate some of that youth. We'll take it, right? Like, I don't know if that could happen, but just kind of a thought. But anyway, again, I feel whatever your thoughts are. I'd love to hear it either way, so let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot, so we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.